A very wonderful good evening to you. It is for me a very great pleasure to be once again in St. Thomas. St. Thomas is a parish many years ago where I used to find unusual pleasure. And I just want to say before I say anything else that I am still of that mind to want to find intense pleasure, even if sometimes the body rebels against it. But I'm glad to be here. And I'm glad to be here because I want to begin by telling you a story that is intended to capture the first message that I want to send. My political career began in this constituency in 1983 when the late great Prime Minister Tom Adams invited me to speak at his branch meeting in St. Thomas. And all innocence. Contrary to belief, Tom Adams did not ask me that evening to speak because he wanted me to get involved in politics. Tom Adams wanted me to speak that evening because he took me down to Paradise to encourage me not to want to run in St. Peter. He told me that he had managed to convince Leonard Craig that he was going to leave St. Thomas and go and run against Reynolds Reeds, and that Leonard Craig was going to run against Erskine Sanford, and that he wanted me to go and run against Richie Haynes because he had somebody in mind to run in St. Peter. And I told him, Tom, I am going to run in St. Peter, and I'm going to beat O'Brien Trump, and I'm going to beat you. And he said, well, could we have a drink to that, please? And I made that point to come to the first issue that I want to raise with you. I would not have been in politics and had 20 years as an MP were it not left to the people of St. Peter and the branch in St. Peter to say who they wanted to run. Tom Adams wanted somebody else to run in St. Peter. And throughout my political career, I felt that the Barbados Party is at its strongest when we let the branches tell us who we are. And I don't want to strike a wrong note this evening, but I must begin by saying that I was therefore very bemused and somewhat amused when I kept hearing that without reference to this branch, people were telling me what I was supposed to be having in mind in respect of who I wanted to run in St. Thomas. I can say freely and without fear of contradiction that I have not approached anybody in this constituency with a view to having a candidate for this constituency other than Cynthia Forde. And I want to say also that in Cynthia Forde, the Labour Party has a member of Parliament in whom we are well pleased. She is the essence of grassroots representation that we want for in Barbados. And this evening I am very greatly pleased to be at this branch meeting to once again endorse her candidature to be the candidate for the Barbados Party. As well as to be the next member of Parliament for the constituency. And the next message I want to bring to you this evening is to say how even more greatly pleased I am to be sharing this same platform with my mommy. I do not play with politics. The 28 years I have served as a member of Parliament for St. Peter has been my life. 28 years I have served as a member of Parliament for this party has been the most important thing I've done in my professional career. And my only interest at this stage in my career is the future of the Barbados Labour Party and the future of Barbados. And this morning I told you that there's one word and one word only that must be on the lips of the people of Barbados Labour Party.
Unity.
The word is unity. If there are wounds, bind them up and heal them. Find the balm in Gilead. But we have to go forward united. And I've come to St. Thomas this evening to plead for that unity as the backdrop for the very serious speech I'm about to give you. And it's a serious speech. I believe that if the government had the interest of this country at heart, it would declare a state of economic emergency. And I don't say that lightly, but I want to repeat it. If the government of Barbados had the interest of this country at heart, it would declare a state of economic emergency. Barbados does not need a ceremonial prime minister. We've never had a ceremonial prime minister. We don't want a prime minister who believes that with our economy, and I will speak about it shortly, on the verge of suffering a meltdown, that this is the time for him, like a man of ceremony, to be paying courtesy calls here and courtesy calls there. Barbados needs somebody, a strong, firm hand to guide this ship of state at a time of most incredible peril. And the question that you have to ask yourself, Barbados does not have a boring relationship with the World Bank. On what mission could therefore a Prime Minister find himself to go to Washington on the way to Colombia to have a meeting with the institution that from whom we cannot borrow? Barbados does not have a program with the International Monetary Fund either. And I cannot begin to believe that a whole Prime Minister of Barbados, a whole Prime Minister, will go to Washington to have a courtesy call with the head of the International Monetary Fund, when at home there's work to be done. There is a crisis of the most overwhelming proportion facing this country. And our so-called Prime Minister is making courtesy calls as if he's the Governor General making courtesy calls on people who reach the age of 100. And please do not laugh, because what is facing this country is serious. Now, we have two sectors, one called tourism and one called international business. And these are the two sectors on which our livelihoods depend. Agriculture and manufacturing matter too. But it is tourism and international business that pay our bills. The last time I spoke to you, I did not read to you a document of the Barbados Labour Party. I read to you from a document prepared by a department, a company established by the Barbados Labour Party. That is the department of the government of Barbados. It is called Invest Barbados. And this is the institution that is responsible for managing our second biggest sector, the international business and financial sector. And this is the picture that they painted of our Barbados. A number, you hear of one company belonging to Paul Martin that paid $20 million in taxes that left. It says the number of companies, perhaps over a dozen, have moved 12 in the last 2 years, accounting for at least 26% of the 2009 tax base. At least another dozen are planning to leave. So 12 left. And 12 more are planning to leave. And maybe another dozen are contemplating leaving. So 12 left, 12 planning to leave, and another 12 thinking about it. The 12 that have left account for 25% of the taxes that are paid in corporation tax by our second biggest industry. And God only knows how much taxes these others will account for. But Barbados, Brundle Stewart cannot afford to lose 36 companies while you are in Washington having a courtesy call. This is not something to laugh at, this is serious. Now, this is our second most important industry. And we in the Barbados party feels passionate about it because the international business sector as we know it is in every respect the product of the imagination of the Barbados Civil Party. Tom Adams, Henry Ford, and others in the 1970s decided that they were going to add this as an important dimension to the economic structure of our country. But now, the lights are going up in this industry. Going out. And when they cited this, I thought the government was going to respond by saying, and they had hope that they were going to respond by saying that this was not true. But not a word. And colleagues, don't you find the silence of the Dems on what is happening in this country eerie? It is ghostly. Cynthia, of course, today would have carried a picnic of 26 buses that he paid for. A poor boy can open the 26 buses, you know. So he's on a picnic on a frolic. Prime Minister is in Washington on the shortest way to Colombia. 36 companies leaving. And I know Mayor would have already spoken to you about Haywoods. And I need to say that if what was happening at Ammon Beach was an isolated event, perhaps we could take it in our stride. But it is not an isolated event. It is symptomatic of a deep-seated crisis in our tourism industry that is not being addressed. And you take our international business sector, the second most important industry in Barbados, 36 companies say we want to leave. The most important industry, tourism, companies are closing around us. And not a word from the government. And I say to you, colleagues, that what is happening at Ammon Beach is not an isolated activity that has anything to do only with international recession. The world has long ago come out of this recession. There are countries that we used to laugh at that are on the mark upwards and onwards. And we have a government here that is asking us to believe that everything, that there are innocent bystanders, and that everything that is happening here, they are powerless to affect. What is happening, what has happened at Haywoods has been understood. Two sets of factors. One is distressed pricing, selling a tourism product at this heavily discounted price in Barbados with all wage rates. will put Barbados tourism and the companies in peril.
That's right.
When we were talking to Butch Stewart about making an investment at Paradise, he said we couldn't make an investment in Barbados. He said, why? Not because we don't like Barbados. He said, but because the point at which we break even in Jamaica, we have not yet met the payroll in Barbados. And they say that this business, this policy that this government has embarked upon, or felt that it should cause people to embark upon, selling our tourism product at heavily discounted prices, means that there will be enterprises like Haywoods that cannot generate enough revenue to pay its way. Another issue, of course, that we won't have to go into this evening because we don't have time, is that the implications of selling Barbados' tourism product for $110 a night means that we will come soon to a point where the standard of living that depends upon a premium product being sold at premium prices may go through the window. But Haywoods is not an isolated case. You take a tourism product in this country and you discount and you discount it and you discount it for 4 years. Sooner or later, the losses are going to mount up and mount up and mount up, such that what has happened there could happen all across the industry. So the revenue is not coming in because of this foolishness about price discounting to get numbers. And you know, they got the numbers, you know. You heard Richard Steele was boasting at some stage about how the Air Canada people were coming. They were going to Haywoods. Why? Because cheap rooms. So numbers came, but the enterprise going under. And the second thing is the cost. The cost. We have begged this government every time we have spoken to come away from these maddening policies that are driving our economies into the ground. No, you all are not economic magicians. But I ask you, what are two of the most important costs that a hotel cannot avoid meeting? It can always juggle and vary its food bill, because it can choose to buy certain foods and not others. But the two costs: electricity and water. And there are no enterprises that depend more upon electricity and water as inputs than tourism. So what do you think happens when you increase electricity water rates by 60%? You start the process of increasing the cost in your most important industry to a point where at some stage enterprises are going to start to collapse. But secondly, what happens as well, where you get into this folly of having an electricity pricing policy that are intended, and we have to keep repeating these things from the platforms of the Barbados Department is heard. A pricing policy that is intended to enrich a company owned by the government at the expense of all the consuming public of this country. I have to go back to it again, because when I hear people in the Democratic Labour Party want to behave as if they're innocent bystanders and tell me as if I don't know better that our electricity prices are due to international crude prices, I said, are you thinking that we are fools too? Electricity prices in Barbados are set by two sets of fees. The Fair Trading Commission sets part. It tells the electricity company, you pay wages, you buy supplies and materials, you can recover your costs, and you get a rate of return on those. But because of fuel, it's passed through by something called the fuel adjustment charge. And when the price of crude goes up, you will expect the price, that fuel adjustment charge to go up. When the price of crude comes down, you'll expect the fuel adjustment charge to come down. That has not been the case. What has been the case is that Enlighten Power buys its fuel oil to produce electricity from a company owned by the government. And this company has been gouging. It has been making more than $50 million a year in profit. You read the estimates this year, $25 million is now to be taken and paid back a bond that it has with the government. This same company that is selling the fuel oil to the Enlighten Power is going to spend $33 million in drilling for oil in St. John. It has made over $150 million in profits in 3 years. At a time when your fuel charge adjustment keep going up and going up and going up, whether irrespective as to whether the price of crude oil is coming down. And the hotel industry, Frondell, and the hotel industry, Mr. Richard Seeley, facing declining revenues because you all are telling them they have to do price discounting because they want to have numbers, and facing increased costs, not only because of your policies on electricity and water, but in land tax. They probably had a policy that every time the valuation go up, we give people an ease. Property taxes have gone up. Every conceivable cost has gone up. So what would you expect to happen? That enterprises like Haywood's will go under and take 500 jobs with it directly. And how many of the jobs in St. Peter and elsewhere, that depends on the existence of that enterprise. And I say to you, this is not isolated. Somebody in the government better get up soon and smell the coffee, because the Haywood's case is just symptomatic of a situation that is facing our hotel industry in general. Our industry is tottering virtually on the brink of bankruptcy. The hotels are deep, deep, deep in debt. Few are making any money. Few are making any investments in maintenance or expansions. All of the major new investments that were supposed to be being brought in to enrich our tourism product and the experience of tourists in this country, what has become of them? Where is Pickering? Where is Foul Bay? We can go on. So that the existing product is struggling and no new major investment is being made to expand what Barbados has or to bring new attraction to this country. And while this country is here wallowing in this economic distress, other Caribbean countries are pressing on and pressing on and pressing on, building out new products. So that I tell you, when you reach a situation where your two most important industries are facing the kinds of problems that Barbados' two most important industries are facing, then somebody will start paying attention. and we have a real emergency. And I'm speaking to you now not as a BLP politician just wanted to spread propaganda. I said earlier that 28 years of my life has been invested serving this country as a member of parliament. In that 28 years of 24 years of my life has been spent either presenting budget or giving respect to budget presentation in this country. I have a vested interest by the dint of effort in the success of this economy. And I speak this evening in the hope that the silence will end. When the Democratic Party wants to speak to the people of this country, they know how to speak to the people of this country. Why is there that deafening silence about our economic circumstances? Are they afraid to confront the people? I spoke about what has happened in our two most important industries. Why was that was all? There's a company called NCO. A call center. employing 1,500 Barbadians. Used to. A company employing 1,500 Barbadians, mostly ladies, not going through the editors. So you take what is happening in tourism. You take what is happening in international business. They take what is happening in our internet information processing industry, and you begin to put it all together, and you have a virtual meltdown of this country that requires somebody to take stock of it and to stop our economy not just from falling behind, but from going under. And you know what, I would like the Minister of Housing to tell me if all is well at company. I would like the Minister of Housing to tell me if everything is going well at company. Because company was supposed to be the signature project of this government to prove that they know how to build houses and we didn't know how to. I make a distinction between housing solutions and a construction industry and people putting up 4 houses a day. But I would like the minister to tell us what is happening at Coverley. And colleagues, this evening I've come in this book because, as it says, it must be a model to us, all of us as patriotic Barbadians, that after so many years of hard work to bring this country to a stage where it could be viewed as a model for so many developing countries, it must be of concern to every serious Barbadian that we have reached this stage where we can go over a precipice. And I may want and may see myself empowering you, but my experience in public policy was formed in Jamaica in the 1970s. When a country that was previously doing well was allowed to go into recession for 4 years. That's right. I was not pulled out. And you must believe me when I tell you that if a country goes into recession for an extended period of time and you don't pull it out quickly and aggressively, it takes you at least a generation to pay back. I suspect, without having been there, that the same thing is what happened in Guyana. In 1966, on independence, Guyana was more advanced than Singapore. That's right. But then people started to play the fool with their economy. And then what happened? Now Guyana is a shadow of what Singapore is. I speak to you therefore on the eve of an election campaign. And I want to speak through you to the people of Barbados. I trust that the last election will be the last election on which the people of Barbados will vote and be asked to vote. Not for serious things. I trust that in the last election, where an intelligent people could be asked to vote for free duty-free cards and free houses. And colleagues, don't let us laugh, please, because this is a serious matter. I trust that it's going to be the last election where people can believe that you can run a country by providing people with interest-free mortgages, and that you can get houses free, and that everything can be free. And I also want to urge that it should be the last occasion where an entity comes, a political entity comes to the people of Barbados and doesn't give the people a clear perspective. This is how we want to develop this country. A program for its development, because that's what it must be about. I want to hope that the last election will be the last election in which a party believes that all you have to do is to bring a political program and a political program alone. And a political program and a political program alone can build and develop a country. And even as I speak to you, despite the fact that Barbados is going under, the people in the Democratic Party still feel that they can play games with our future. And I have to speak to it this evening in these terms. In 1991, between 1989 and 1991, Richie Haynes and I, speaking from the opposition benches, begged the Democratic Party to come back from the brink. Tell them that on your course you're going to ruin Barbados. And Cynthia Forde gave a famous statement. He said, we hear you, but you can sing. We are not going to do anything that will cause the Democratic Party to commit any political suicide. The Democratic Party to commit political suicide, but a lot of Barbadians almost did. You paid a very savage price. 3,000 went home. 8% pay cut. People knew what it was to have to cash in their insurance policies. People could not see the future beyond the horizon. Sadly, we again have a situation where the Democratic Party believes that it can play the fool without people's welfare on the grounds that it is not going to do anything to cause the Democratic Party to commit political suicide. So what are they doing this year? Barbados, even as they speak to you, I believe that from the store is up in Washington trying to get people. I don't know like to speculate, but I feel that he's up there trying to get people to try not to get police to downgrade Barbados. But what's happening in this country, because I've got movies and others are looking at, government finances are out of order. The government has to bring its spending under control. They say we are going to defer, bring expenditure under control. We can have an election, and we can make $150 million in adjustments in the 2 years after the election, so the pain can come. $150 million of unspecified pain. But in this year, we want to increase spending by $300 million. And the foolishness has already started. How many people must Dennis Lowe hire to cut down bush besides roads before the Dems are satisfied that that is not a program for the advancement of the people of this country? I am told that they have now a program called NEAT. No, 200 more are to be added, I'm told. With each of them getting 20. There may now be more people cutting down bush beside the road in Barbados than they working in Barbados agriculture.
$3 million for a suction pump.
And they can go on. And the point I'm making to you is this. We paid a savage price as a society in 1991 to enable the Democratic Party not to commit political suicide. But Fernell, the body already dead, you know. The people of Barbados already made up their minds, Fernell Stewart. The people of Barbados, we are therefore telling me we cannot wait for an election. There is nothing that they can do to stop that which is now clearly on the cards. The people of Barbados are sick and tired of the absence of serious government. And that this coming with this last minute foolishness about employing 20 people to cut down bush here and put on little tar there and so on. It's not a substitute for dealing with the concerns of the people of Barbados in a serious way. And to make all these in the Barbados Party, Just want to say to you very clearly, it is not about sport. There are some of you who may feel that we should come and try to backraise the Democratic Party. I am from the St. John School. And I was there in 1986 when he told my colleagues, I do not believe in, if people want to do foolishness, I must do more foolishness than them. Those of you who feel that we should come and try to out them, the Dems are asking for a position to be taken, that we do not believe in it, Barry. We will give you serious government. We will give you a development program. We will take charge. And where there are problems, we will face them and we will fix them. I have perhaps spoken about the economy. But what's happening in the economy is symptomatic of what's happening in Barbados at large. It is as if our country is now at large. We have lost, it would seem, the ability to manage and govern our affairs. So I cannot imagine drawing a salary as a prime minister and having a problem at Alexander School. I don't know how to solve a problem at Alexander School. And I put on my clothes every day and said maybe work as a prime minister. Not there. What has Barbados come to? When a problem at a school between a headmaster and teachers cannot be solved, but must drag on and drag on and drag on. And the Prime Minister tells you, phase 1, phase 2 coming. But I beg you not to laugh. I beg you not to laugh. I beg you not to laugh, because what has mattered in this country is our ability to manage and to govern our affairs, no matter how serious the issues might be that we have to deal with. And we must not get accustomed to what's going to happen in this country, where it is people. Government can't get that fixed. Royal Shop can't get that fixed. Sandy Lane can't get that fixed. We must not get accustomed to living in a country where the very simple art of government is no longer within the capacity of the government. So, colleagues, we are about to face a serious election. I vote for the sake of the country, and not because of any thirst for office, but I vote for the sake of the country. That the people of this country are put in a position soon to determine the destiny of Barbados. The greatest weakness of this government, its greatest disability, is that this country is facing a crisis that could see Barbados become a failed society, and nobody in the government is talking. There's an eerie silence. Chris Cynthia is not talking. None of them are talking. And it is, and colleagues, believe me, I am not here to spread unnecessary fears. But what is happening is beyond worrying some. Barbados must be brought back from this brink. And to pretend that the problem don't exist does not mean that the problem does not exist and that it will go away. Barbados needs serious, strong government and leadership. And I am therefore, as it says, so pleased to be able to speak to the Labour Party to tell you that the legacy of this party for 74 years has been to give this country serious government and leadership at every turn. 1950s, Grantley Adams found a society dominated by the planter class. The tourism industry that we know now and the manufacturing industry are the products of his creation of a thing called a development board that brought tourism and manufacturing to this country. And it is part of our legacy that we do great things and then they ask us to leave. Because the very term that they asked him to leave is the very term when the Barbados Labour Party built the Deepwater Harbour and the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And the development board to bring manufacturing and tourism to this country. We have a stellar record in economic management. In 1976, Tom Adams took up the reins of this government when Erskine Sandiford felt it too stressful and he fled to well, same thing. But what did Tom Adams do? He made tax reform. Nobody just talked about tax reform before Tom Adams. Nobody just talked about international business sector before Tom Adams. But he says, let me transform the Barbados economy. And in 1994, we found this economy deep in shambles. Unemployment at 24%. People have lost confidence. We had 14 years of stellar growth. 40 years. I mean, reform the tax system, reform telecommunication. I mean, I can go on and go on and go on. Build a Barbados that had we not done what we did and left $2.8 billion in reserves, the country would have gone on there. And colleagues, I'm saying all that not to ask you to rest on your laurels, but I speak to you with 40 years of experience as a professional economist. And I remember sitting in graduate school in 1972 when Nixon linked the US dollar from gold and wondered what kind of world we were going to live in. I've seen a lot. And I had to be in Jamaica with Michael Manley and see what Michael Manley did to Jamaica and learn how not to manage a country by what he did. And I came back here and when I've helped to negotiate an IMF program for Tom Adams, and I helped to coordinate a country development plan, and I have been the Minister of Finance. And I speak this evening not from a personal point of view, but I speak from the rich legacy of the Barbados Labour Party that they have not been better managers of this country in the whole history of Barbados. And I tell the team that I'm leading, that if those things that I spoke to you about were challenges, Nixon delinking the US dollar from gold, the oil crisis, whatever, the crisis that faces this country today makes them pale into comparison. And I'm asking you to gird up your gun, gird up yourselves, because it passed before the next administration of this country will be the most testing in the history of our days. So as I speak to you, the lights are going out, the economic lights are going out all across Barbados. It might be left to the Dems, we may not see them yet again in our times, but they give you the assurance that the Labour Party government return to office. They keep those lights burning,